Hi, my name is Sue Ann, and today I'll be walking you through 5 mistakes that you might be making in your PTE exam. All right, so these mistakes are applicable if you've taken the exam before, and also if you haven't taken the exam before. So it'd be good to address these basics because they might be actually costing you marks in your final grade, and we want to avoid that, of course, and maximize the amount of marks that you can make. All right. A little bit of an introduction of myself. My name is Sue Ann. This is me. I am one of the education specialists in Master PTE, and we help in training students to prepare them thoroughly for the PTE exam so that they are able to achieve their desired score in the shortest amount of time and in the least amount of attempts. All right, so let's get to the class today. All right, mistake number 1, focusing on the wrong task types. This is actually a very often overlooked mistake, but very, very important because knowing which task types you should be focusing on is very useful in terms of prioritizing your time in studying, as well as prioritizing your time in the actual exam. Okay, so if you didn't know before, there are 20 task types in PTE, and not all of them are created equal. All right, so this means that some of them are of heavier weightage than the others. All right, so it's important to know which ones so that we can, be most effective in answering the questions and allocating our time. Okay, so based on our experience and our students and the tests that we have carried out, we have identified that 60% of the task types in PTE carry about 90% of the total score. So this is extremely useful information. And we have identified the task types that are very heavy in terms of final weightage, and these should be the ones that you should be paying attention to and allocating your time and energy and resources and brain power to answer during the actual exam. All right. So these are all of these highlighted here are very important. You should definitely uh, know how to do them as best as you can before going into the exam. All right. So what this tells us is that um, it's way better to allocate time compared to the 40% of task types that are not that important. So if you're focusing too much time and energy on these task types, I recommend you change your strategy and focus on these ones instead. So don't treat the entire exam like every question is of the same weightage. Right? This is not IELTS. For IELTS, that is the case. In IELTS listening and reading sections, um, all the questions, like each and every question you answer, they have the same amount of points to total your final grade. But for PTE, um, these task types contribute way higher, way higher points compared to the 40% that don't. All right, so this is definitely tip number 1 that you should not make as a mistake when you go into the actual exam. All right, mistake number 2, being caught off guard. All right, so first thing you must know is PTE is a fully computer-based exam. All right, so everything is done by the computer, done on the computer, and you need to there is no human that you're interacting with, so there is not so much forgiveness if you don't know what's going on. All right, because the computer will just keep going, just keep moving. All right, you need to be extremely prepared so that you're not caught off guard. And of course the goal would be to finish the entire exam, without any surprises, without and on time as well, finishing the exam on time. But I'd like to highlight 2 sections that are extremely critical to be wary of your timing, okay, and your response. All right. So the speaking section is very tricky and quite intense in PTE because you need to actually respond quite quick to the questions that pop up. If you've taken the exam before, you'll know that you will begin with read aloud, and then you move to repeat sentence, and then you move to describe image, and then retell lecture. So it's a very rigid sequence. So you'll need to actually know what's happening, okay? Or else the timing in each question will throw you off guard. All right, this is especially so because each question in speaking, okay, this is different from the rest of the exam, but each question of the speaking section has its own time block. So, for example, read aloud has 40 seconds of prep time and 40 seconds for you to speak, and then describe image has 25 seconds of prep time and 40 seconds for you to speak. So, once the time block ends, you need to click next and go to the next one, the next one. There is no time for you to read instructions in this case. Okay, once you see the question come up, you need to respond to it. All right, which is why preparation is paramount when you're doing speaking, or else it is very, very alarming because you'll be surprised by a lot of the things if you're reading instructions in your exam. For example, before I give the example, you will also need to know this, be very familiar with the sequence of questions that are going to come out. All right, because it's more or less the same every time you go into the exam, but yeah, you need to know the sequence. So like what question comes after this question, because like a lot of students, they get caught off guard when they finish describe image. So after describe image is retell lecture, and retell lecture and for the retell lecture you need to actually jot down notes while the lecture is playing. So like for our students, if they're not prepared, they'll get a shock when they finish describe image because the lecture begins and they're like, where's my pen? Oh, what do I do? So that is not very productive when you're doing the exam. You cannot be surprised by these sort of sequence changes, like task type changes. Okay, so yes, quick response is very, very needed for the speaking section. Next, the other thing I would like to highlight about being prepared is your listening. Your listening uh, is actually quite tight in terms of timing. You have about half an hour to finish the entire half an hour to 40 minutes to finish your listening section. So you need to be very, very careful in terms of allocating your time. From this, we can draw from the lessons of mistake 1. All right, so we need to allocate our timing properly. So we should be focusing on the 60% of important and heavy weightage questions instead of the not so important 40% of the exam, many of which are actually in the listening section. So all these, right, you cannot be spending a lot of time on, right? You should be, if you, let's say for multiple choice, if you don't know the the answer to the question, in the first 20 to 30 seconds, you should just pick one and move on. There's no point spending extra time here because accumulatively, all these questions amount to such a insignificant amount of marks that it'll be stupid to, pardon my language, but it'll be stupid to spend time there rather than on the heavier task types, which actually accumulate to a far greater percentage of your marks. All right, now we move to mistake number 3, not speaking loud enough. Haha, this is applicable to the speaking section. All right, so when we look at the speaking section, usually what the telltale signs are that you're not doing well in speaking is your oral fluency, and your pronunciation. Okay, so when I say you're not speaking loud enough, this means you're maybe, and this is also very applicable to Asians because we are shyer and we are not very comfortable speaking in a higher volume. All right. So if that is the case, or like if there are other candidates in the room and you don't want to disturb them with your loudness. All right. So we tend to speak in a softer voice, all right, so that we don't distract other people, or we are not very confident in the way that we speak. So that is not very helpful in to our pronunciation score. So if you don't speak loud enough, first, the headset will not be able to pick up the words that you're saying. Second, other people around you, if they're loud as well, they might actually impact your pronunciation. They might influence the marks that you get in pronunciation. All right, so this would actually drag down your speaking score. Okay, and also it may impact your oral fluency because if you're speaking so softly that the headset won't be able to detect your words. You may be extremely fluent, but it might not be captured by the headset. Okay, and after that, the marking system will also not be able to give you a good score for your oral fluency as well. So it's very important to speak confidently, and don't worry about your surroundings, because uh, after all, you're the one who's paying for the exam. So you should try to, do the exam as best as you can, so that you avoid having to retake it multiple times. All right, so that's about the speaking. Next, number 4, not having enough speaking content. Okay, so this is quite important, and more so currently than in the past. All right, speaking, especially for the describe image and retell lecture. Uh, so for those of you who have taken the exam before, you'll know describe image is where you're given an image and you have to describe it for about 40 seconds. And retell lecture is where you're given a lecture. It's about 40 seconds to a minute long, and at the end of it, you have 10 seconds to prepare your notes or something, and then you have to deliver your summary of the lecture in 40 seconds. So this 40 seconds is crucial, that you do not stop speaking, like, or you have enough to continue speaking. You can't speak for 10 seconds and be silent and expect good results for your speaking. Right, you need to come up with enough content to fill the time, so that you are able to expound on the topic of the lecture or the image that you're given. Okay, so a good tip for this would be to plan your introduction, body, and conclusion before you start speaking, and do it during the 25 seconds of prep time. 25 seconds is applicable to describe image, but retail lecture, you only have 10. So you have to be really quick in terms of prepping. We have ways to do that, and if you want to know, can get in touch with us. I'll put a link to our contact details at the end of the lesson, right? So yeah, plan them properly, because 40 seconds is it's not it may seem like a lot of time, but actually, if you have enough content and you plan it well, it will be uh, sufficient for you to expound on the topic that you're given. Okay, so that's number 4, maximize on your content. And number 5, not flexing your vocabulary muscles. All right, okay, this one is where we address the writing portion of the exam. Okay, so the essay writing is where you should try to input as many vocabulary words, good vocabulary words as you can. All right, so a good tip for this would not be to go into the exam empty-handed. All right, that even though it's more convenient, it is not the safest way to go about PTE, especially because PTE is a very time sensitive exam. So it's very, very risky to just leave everything to chance and go in like, oh, let's see what happens and I'll respond appropriately. Yes, it may work, of course, but it would be far better to have at least something in your hand, like a guiding template in your hand to help you out in terms of vocabulary and word count. Word count means number of words that you can write. All right. In case you have no ideas that pop up during your exam. All right, so this is an example of our template that we use with our students. So it is the red parts are the templates. The template, the red part is the template, and the black words are the keywords that you will find in you respond to in the question. Right, so yeah, this is one of the ways that you can actually buffer against like brain freezes. Like in case you don't have enough content, you can help yourself out by preparing beforehand. Okay, so have your own template. You shouldn't follow ours, or you can actually follow ours, but up to you if you want to. But if you don't have a template of your own, you should try to create one. And if you'd like, we can actually edit the template for you to check on grammar and improve your vocabulary, so that you have a better guiding template to use during your exam. If you like that, you can go to our website. We'll leave or I'll leave the link in the descriptions below, so that you can find the link to have your essay edited before you go in for the actual exam. Okay. All right, so that's about it. It was a very short and sweet lesson. I hope you got a lot of information from that. And these are our contact details. And if you'd like to get in touch for training, we do have face-to-face classes in Malaysia. Um, but we also do hold online classes, and you can get in touch with us for your free assessment. Usually, we don't accept students without a prior assessment because we need to make sure that we can actually help you before you decide to enroll in our program. So, yeah, any questions, just get in touch with us, and I hope to see you soon. Subscribe if you liked our content. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon in our next video.